Welcome to the last bastion of game journalism and ethics.
Polygon.
Yeah, right.
Hi guys, Flattmeister here. Sorry for the wait in bringing new videos. My pain levels have just been last week. I was just knocked out for 6. But I will hopefully have more videos coming out. Bang, 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 bang. More quicker. Anyway, so like I was saying, Polygon. I love them. Not really. Why are game companies so afraid of the politics in their games? Colin Campbell asks, saying social issues are profitable, they just don't want to talk about it. You mean they... Yeah, game companies are afraid of politics that you don't agree with in your leftist SJW echo chamber, Colin.
Far Cry 5, where they weren't white supremacists when they were supposed to be.
The game never advertised Far Cry 5 as them being white supremacists. Doomsday Prepper Cult. I made a video about Far Cry 5 about a few months ago. Go watch that. Ubisoft never advertised or promote, even when they announced it at E3 last year. When they announced it, they never advertised them as being Trump supporters. Bob Chipman going, it's going to be a Trump supporter killing simulator, kill a bunch of Trump supporters and white supremacists and KKK Nazis. No, the game was never advertised as that. Same with Bethesda, like that. With Wolfenstein. But they've also attacked Ubisoft recently with the Division 2 they've announced. They went, oh yes, it seems very political, don't you think? And they went, no, not really. Like, oh, but don't you think having an American flag in the game, it's inherently being political? Ubisoft developers going, no. So Colin Campbell is saying, game publishers are lathering their productions with stark imagery of modern political divisions, while at the same time denying any topical intent. That's why people don't like SJW. When they say SJW games, is where a creator, the same with the comic industry, when you've got a writer that is bashing their own personal political ideals shoehorning them into a story, that's when we say, ooh, this SJW propaganda, because a way of a creator positing an idea, and an idea that they may not agree or disagree with, they go, here, I'm going to posit some ideas and themes to you, the player, or you, the reader, or the viewer, if you're watching a film. I'm going to posit these ideas and concepts and themes, and I'm going to let you explore and weigh out each of these. That's good writing, is where if a creator can do that, like, not go, this is what you should believe, and start hammering and chipping it away into someone's brain, into the viewer or player's brain. This is what you should believe. No, that doesn't make an interesting story or story arc or interesting character. It comes across as propaganda. And that's why people can't stand it. People don't like that shit. It's funny though, SJW's like when they go, oh my god, this guy's like a total Nazi, this creator, this developer. Like Daniel Vavra for Warhorse Studios making Kingdom Come Deliverance. Like, I'm going to have historical accuracy. That's why there's no black people in the game, because I know my history from the country that I live in. And all the journalists went, hurry! But yet, Battlefield 5, and then people go, it's a World War II game. What's a disabled female British soldier doing on the front? What's a female serving on the front lines of the British Army? That's not historically accurate. And then the journalists go, oh, look at these man babies crying about historical accuracy. They're so bigoted and can't get over their misogyny. Fuck off. And that's why people can't stand political division. because these journalists are they're the divisive ones. So Colin says, their strategy, according to industry sources, ranging from developers to publicists, is to profit from emotive societal divisions while ducking difficult conversations about what their works might signify, or maybe they're just trying to tell a cool story. Just because a developer explores themes doesn't necessarily mean they endorse those themes, but that isn't applicable with SJWs, but these SJW creators, because they do endorse the themes and shit that they have in their creation, in their game or comic or whichever. But then if a customer then queries the moral balancing the morality of each of those themes.
Oh my god, you're a Nazi for even questioning those themes.
Pretty much. Their games garner publicity and a sense of cultural relevance, but the companies avoid the challenge and expense of controversy. Hey, any bad press is good press, you know. Go with some controversy. It worked out well for Kingdom Come Deliverance. I love Daniel Vavre. He just went, yeah, jog on. This is my game. This is my history. Why don't you just fuck off? In the words of one senior game industry publicist I spoke to, under conditions of anonymity, because yeah, maybe he's afraid that that he might get fired. It's bullshit. They want to have their cake and eat it too. Oh, I hear that they give some bullet points. Polygon gives some bullet points of quasi-political AAA games. What is this this anonymous senior industry publicist saying? They want to have their cake and eat it too. So basically, this guy wants games to be propaganda. So Colin's bullet points some few games. Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, which I've not played that one yet. I think it's on sale on the Steam summer sale. It's like $2.99. I really want to get it, but I can't even afford that, $2.99 for a game, I'm afraid. But I really loved Human Revolution, and I've played a little bit of the original of the first Deus Ex, the very first original, because this Deus Ex Human Revolution and Mankind Divided is like the prequel. It's like a prequel series. So they're saying it posited a world of cybernetic enhancements divided by the mechanical apartheid, but publisher Square Enix repeatedly denied that its imagery of societal separation and prison camps had anything to do with real-world racial divisions. I mean, they obviously took keys from, like, obviously using the word apartheid, the sort of the African apartheid. But that's the great thing with sci-fi and fantasy, is that you can explore themes of racism and oppression and a dystopian future and all of these ideas using a sci-fi backdrop and a sci-fi lens, applying that. I mean, like the upcoming game Cyberpunk 2077 is, I'm sure, will posit some really interesting games, and Tim Surrette's The Last Night, that sort of pixel 2.5D 3D game that's coming out soon. And what's wrong with Deus Ex: Mankind Divided exploring a mechanical apartheid in which people with cybernetic augmentations are being discriminated against and looked down upon by society because of the Panchea incident? You know, sending all of the augmented civilians just gone crazy. The was it the Majestic 12 or the Illuminati, like this sort of subgroups? They basically orchestrated this whole thing in Human Revolution. So that's fine. Using a quasi-political backdrop, the mechanical apartheid, it's exploring a theme of treating people that are different to you. This fear of, you know, othering people. bringing up Far Cry 5. Far Cry 5 portrayed a rural, anti-government American cult in which bastardized crosses were wielded by fanatics. But publisher Ubisoft refused to be drawn on obvious comparisons with currently resurgent white supremacist groups. Far Cry 5 was never about white supremacists. It had black and white people. It had people from other... It had a Native American Indian... didn't SJWs even complain there was too many black people? But, it was Vice Media, wasn't it? Complained there was too many black people in Far Cry 5. They were a fucking doomsday prepper cult. There was nothing... There was no obvious comparisons with currently resurgent white supremacist groups. You are talking shit, Colin Campbell. Sony's Detroit Become Human flirts with issues like social justice and domestic abuse, but its creator David Cage says it's really about androids, further claiming that the clear real-world parallels in his works are merely in the eyes of players. I mean, sure, like, yeah, it has domestic abuse. The little girl is physically abused by her father, and the Kara, the android housemaid, has to break past her programming. Again, I did a video when there was a whole outcry about that scene when Detroit Become Human was announced. I did that a few months ago. Yes, it's again as Detroit Become Human, positing that idea of AI and robotics and what happened, humans being in fear of something that we've created, that these androids have broken beyond their programming and they're starting to experience real life human emotions, and as humans have we created our own problem, our own undoing. We've created an uprising of androids that are sick and tired of discrimination and racism against themselves, or being oppressed. Same with like Deus Ex Mankind Divided. It's a fear and otherizing. So yes, there is there's parallels, and that's fine. Dave, I don't know why David Cage's saying it's about androids. I think well, that's a really short quote that Colin Campbell has done from David Cage. Like, yeah, it's about androids. It's questioning about artificial intelligence mainly. That's the main theme that he's going at. But obviously, he's flirting issues about social justice and discrimination and oppression. And then, of course, like I was just saying earlier about The Division 2, at E3 last week, Ubisoft heavily publicised The Division 2, set in Washington, D.C. in the near future. The game asks players to fight back against a corrupt government and help save the US from tyrants. Despite obvious parallels with current political landscape in the US, Ubisoft continues to deny any real-world interference, even in the face of incredulity. That's the thing, yeah, a creator doesn't want to take sides because he's selling a product. He's not there to bash politics over players' heads. Like he's saying, in the aftermath of Polygon's E3 interview with the Division 2 creative director Terry Spire, Ubisoft was widely mocked for its determination to avoid taking sides in the midst of a raging culture war. Because you are making it a fucking war, Polygon. You were trying... they were trying to do like a gotcha moment with Terry Spire. The interview was like... Seriously, screw you, Polygon. You're so fucking... Why does an artist have to take sides? What about Tom Clancy's The Hunt for Red October? Tom Clancy didn't say... He avoided taking sides with either the US or the Russians. No, he's just telling a story. Consumers are starting to take note of the discrepancy between the games they play and the messages they hear coming out of media events like E3. You mean messages they hear coming out of the mouths of shitty outlets and articles like Polygon. Soraya Murray, an associate professor of the Film and Digital Media Department at the University of California, Santa Cruz, said, "Being topical in content is key to being relevant." I mean, yeah, I can agree with that. Like having... Again, exploring themes, but don't bash fucking politics over your head. Is key to being relevant. While these companies may or may not want their games to be thought of as political, they probably do want them to be meaningful. Yes, I can agree. They want it to be meaningful to the player or the viewer or the reader. Ultimately, companies create games and then release them into a world that shapes a larger context. These games may have intended meanings in their design, but this changes throughout their conception, development and production, circulation and reception. Context shapes them across time. In other words, a games company's intent does not solely drive meaning. Another publicity source who has worked for multiple large publishers explained the thinking behind this strategy. It's about money, they said. Games with a sense of relevance feel fresh and artistic. But talking about the politics risks blowback. Blowback is expensive. Exactly. That's why Ubisoft went, Far Cry 5 is not about white supremacists or Nazis. It's just a doomsday prepper cult, that's all. And for all of the sort of right-wing Christian groups that got offended, like, oh my god, Far Cry 5 is taking the piss out of us. And that's why Battlefield 5 will probably, it's going to be expensive for them. Well, they could, EA and DICE are just going, if you don't like it, fuck off, don't buy our game. Okay, I won't then. From valid criticism. But towing the line between relevance and controversy is likely to end badly, sooner or later, according to Eric Bernstein, an expert in managing publicity crises. The way they handle things is inviting a crisis. You mean it's inviting opportunistic, slimy, parasitic game journalists and outlets like Polygon from trying to create a crisis, like with Ubisoft's Division 2. It doesn't matter how schooled you are in delivering the message if you don't have the right message to start with. I don't like this idea. Like, what do you mean by message or have the right message? Like I said, with if you are a creator, present a bunch of ideas and concepts to the reader or the player or viewer and have them weigh up each of these ideas and let them come to a conclusion. Not go, this is the message you should believe in. Perhaps the most common causes of crises, from Colin Campbell, is the conflict between expectation and reality, or a conflict between two different messages from the same source. The game is a piece of messaging in itself. They need to think about the message that the entire game is sending, and their in-person communications need to be on the same page. Well, I mean, Ken Levine didn't necessarily agree with, again, with like Bioshock Infinite, as flawed as the game and whatever criticisms people have of it. Ken Levine presented these ideas of, regardless of, like, any oppressed group can then become the oppressor. I mean, sure, Father Comstock was a nasty white supremacist, racist bastard, and he treated people, he treated black people and the Irish and Chinese, well, anyone that wasn't white, he treated them absolutely awful. And obviously there was an uprising, the Vox Populi. And then obviously with Booker and Elizabeth going through all these different tears, these different realities, they end up jumping out at a different branching timeline point in which, oh shit, well, now the Vox Populi has risen up and they're oppressing the people of Colombia now. And obviously people like Leigh Alexander that used to work for Polygon and Anita Sarkeesian saying that Bioshock Infinite was a garbage game with a garbage story. How very some constructive criticism there, Anita. Ken Levine was presenting those ideas. He may not personally agree. Same with the original Bioshock as well, with Andrew Ryan, his objectivism, and was pretty much like Ayn Rand. His ideology was like Ayn Rand. Ken Levine and his team were presenting these ideas to the player and letting them come to their own conclusion. While games tend to take a broadly progressive view of the world, because you game journalists don't like it if a game company doesn't present progressive views, game company marketing departments understand that explicitly stating hostility towards reactionary positions risks the enmity of right-wing media, streamers and online communities. They fear, above all, finding themselves at the centre of a Gamergate-like publicity inferno. Gamergate was never about harassing. It wasn't a harassment campaign. I came into Gamergate quite late, but because I did a lot of research in it, I listened to both points of view. Gamergate was sick and tired of you game journalists propping up your friends' games, unethical, not disclosing, you're being unethical. And then it's further gone into SJWs have just infected, like parasites, infected the industry. They've infiltrated. Game devs and publishers that are seen to be pandering to liberal values have often been targeted by online mobs. No. You vote with your wallet, basically. Examples demonstrate the obnoxious nature of a section of the gaming audience, which is convinced that games are being hijacked by a cabal of social justice warriors as a platform for progressive values. Well, maybe if you take the time to actually listen to this video, game journalists like Colin Campbell, if you actually listen to what I've just said just earlier, you're using it as propaganda rather than just exploring themes. Nintendo's decision to localize Xenoblade Chronicles X by taking out a customization slider that altered female breast size sparked harassment and doxing against a Nintendo employee. I don't remember that. Battlefield 5's use of a woman character in World War II setting has caused untold controversy among reactionaries, or people who do have genuine criticism. If you're just going to call them reactionary, no, people have a valid criticism. So, and again, I did a video on that. So even when game companies make relatively straightforward decisions to reflect broad societal norms, they expect trouble. You can expect trouble, yeah. I mean, even like the Nazis in the American Nazis in the Wolfenstein, it's set in an alternate timeline, sort of in further down in the future. Colin Campbell has even got, while adding spineless caveat that Bethesda doesn't develop games to make a specific statements or incite political discussions. Is that Wolfenstein has always been about you're an American soldier and you're fighting the Nazis, like World War II, the German Nazis, and unfortunately the Nazi ideology, talk properly, fam, has come to America and still fight the Nazis. Apparently, hard costs, according to a PR source, hard costs of media controversy can run into 7 figures as crisis management companies are called in, expensive monitoring software is deployed, and staff are required to respond to social media messages and online message boards. Like Mass Effect Andromeda. My face is tired from dealing with everything. And like all those other stupid facial animations and other animation glitches and shit. Exactly, like investors dislike controversy and they're very keen to flee. Staff morale can take a massive hit from waves of internet fury. Exactly, like this game industry source says, it's easier just to take the line that the work is open to many interpretations. Exactly. Game is just open to different interpretations. Some interpretations are stupid and idiotic. Others are more on point. And that it isn't taking sides, even when it has something to say. I'm not going to read the entire article. Some of it is just like quotes from other people. For the moment, games that take an openly political stance tend to be independent rather than big budget productions. Exactly, because that's like an indie developer, like they've got no one else to answer to, like they're creating their own thing, they're free to create their own thing, even if they want to shoehorn in their politics, but people are free to criticize and say, look, your game would be better if you didn't shoehorn in your own personal politics, because it's not subtle. It's just blatant. It's just blatant and in your face. Try a little bit of subtlety. Like, whatever happened to a game being fun and the story and characters being intriguing and engrossing and immersive? Bringing up Black Panther, saying it's embrace difficult messages in content and external messaging. Like Colin Campbell, like, what is with this bit here? He goes, yeah, this is precisely the tack taken by game publishers supported by a vocal minority of consumers and even critics who want games to remain as meaningless mechanical pastimes. They say that too much is being read into these games. No, people just don't like shoehorned in politics. Polygon contacted Ubisoft, Square Enix and Sony for comment on this story but did not receive a reply because they haven't got time for you, Polygon, because you're a pile of shit. Like this quote here, from experience, I can tell you that the people on the ground, the developers and publicists, usually hate this stuff, one of our sources said. They're not stupid. They know what the games are about. They don't want to repeat these prepared lines over and over again, but they also don't want to get a reputation for being difficult. They want to keep their jobs. Yeah, that's the thing. Most of them just keep their head down. They want to work. They don't want to shoehorn in their politics. I mean, you've got like EA, BioWare working on Anthem, right? And Anita Sarkeesian visited, and you had half of the staff like were all happy that she was there to look at Anthem, like, oh, Anita, tell us what you think of Anthem, yeah? And then you got other people who are absolutely furious. They're like, the fuck? She's like, all my hard work that I've put into this fucking game, and she's just shut it all away. Not even constructive criticism. It's just all a bunch of drivel coming out of her mouth. And they went up to their higher ups and said, why'd you invite this woman here for? She doesn't know what she's talking about. So at BioWare, it's very, very divided. The team is divided. That's why there's a lot of team members that are shitting themselves. They're worried that Anthem isn't gonna sell, and especially after with how BioWare with Mass Effect Andromeda, how that went down. See, your boy Flattmeister's back in town. Anyway, I want to hear what you guys think of this shit piece. I'll link the article if you want to give it a read entire way through. I didn't read the entire article. A lot of it was flim flam filler. Boo. Anyway, yeah, write a comment down. Tell me what you think of this. Tell me what you think about as a creator. Like, how do you go about with social issues or with exploring mature themes? How would you go about it? Maybe this is an idea for like a future video, which I might expand on. I'll probably end up repeating a lot of the same points, but yeah. Anyway, I've been Flattmeister. I will catch you in the next video. Take it easy. Bye.